This podcast is brought to you by the Association for Coaching, an international professional body which is advancing coaching in business and society worldwide. I'm your host, Rob Lawrence. In this new series, I talk to coaches, leaders and experts who share their passion for this incredible profession and their knowledge of how to do marketing well. Our ambition is to contribute to the development of the coaching profession and to bring you some new ideas, insights and strategies so you can create an impact with your coaching and marketing. Today we're going to talk about finding time to do publicity and PR as part of your marketing strategy. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm not somebody who sees myself consciously embodying these activities in my daily life. So I'm excited to learn more, hopefully dispel some myths around the subject and introduce you to an expert in this field. Somebody who primarily supports female entrepreneurs, coaches and business leaders on getting more press, TV and top-tier media coverage in a way that's in alignment with their coaching services and brand. So I'm excited to introduce to you today Amanda FitzGerald. Amanda, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on the podcast, Amanda. So let's start broadly, and I'd love to ask you, what does marketing mean to you?
Basically, marketing is you getting your business out there so new eyeballs and new audiences can hear about you, or your current audience can hear about you still and, feel great that they're working with you. So marketing can consist of things like paid for adverts, joint ventures, speaking on stage, search engine optimization, direct mailing, WOM, which is word of mouth marketing, as well as something which I'm very passionate about, and that's PR.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your expertise, PR and press coverage and media coverage. And we're going to get into the PR and media and press coverage today. So with that in mind, why PR and press coverage? What are the benefits for coaches?
Right. A major benefit is that PR, and I'm going to define what PR is. PR stands for public relations. And I just quickly wanted to say that it is free of charge. So you don't actually have to pay to get into publications. So people often ask me, what's the difference between PR and advertising? Advertising is when you have to put your money down and pay for an advert. PR is when you get a lovely journalist who's really interested in your organization or your expertise or your thought leadership. They interview you and you don't have to pass any money to anybody to do that because they've interviewed you. And they do all their due diligence, they research you, and it'll be a well-written article, which will give you a lot of credibility.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for those definitions and some of the benefits there. So let's get into some of that then in terms of the work that you do. I realise with a lot of coaches that they do struggle with their marketing, and that would include PR and publicity.
Yeah.
In your experience, what do you feel stops people from doing that?
Oh, it really tends to be lacking in confidence. People just don't like to be rejected, which is very normal. And also fear of approaching a journalist for fear of rejection. And so therefore, people just don't think that they're worth it and they can go for it. But you really need to remember, journalists are looking for you, people like you all the time, every minute of the day. You go to a place called Twitter, a platform called Twitter, and you go to a hashtag called journo request, and you will see literally a new journalist call out or a shout out saying, hey, I'm looking for an expert in X, Y, and Z. They are doing this every minute or, every half an hour of the day. So journalists do need you. So whether you are lacking the confidence or not, it's just a fantastic way to get your message out there and to share. Because you see, the minute you get some publicity, this is why I'm so passionate about it, you can have what I call the PR snowball. So the PR snowball is you get featured in, let's say, Forbes, you share that feature in LinkedIn, your LinkedIn blows up. It's like, oh my God, she's been in Forbes. How amazing. New people will slide into your DMs or in your private messages within LinkedIn and say, wow, because you've built up that credibility and, of course, your confidence, and you'll get offers potentially to speak on stage for new work opportunities. And this literally happens with my clients, and I'm not making this up. So they tell me this is what's happened as a result of, getting publicity.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you mentioned a couple of things that folks get stuck with there, including fear of rejection. So what are your tips in terms of overcoming that fear and also approaching PR and press coverage and media coverage in a way that's likely to get results? I mean, I think it'd be unrealistic for anyone to expect 100% success rate, but what generally works, would you say, Amanda?
So putting aside people lacking confidence, if you think I need to get my business out there and I want to do it because I'm putting bread on the table, what's your big why? Why are you doing it? That will actually give you the confidence to go ahead and do it, because you need to reach a new audience. You may want to be leaving a legacy. You may be sharing a really important message which has a big impact. So if you just think about the impact that one message can get across when you get into a publication, a dream publication. So that's the kind of the confidence booster to think, okay, I can actually do it. So you need to think why I actually want to get into the press. What is my reason to do it? Why am I approaching the journalists? Why should the readers, the viewers, the listeners hear about me? So my biggest tip is actually you thinking or getting yourself into the head of the audience of that platform that, that is consuming that very platform, the podcast, let's say the Times or whatever. So you're always going to be helping or sharing expertise with those listeners or viewers. So, but what you need to think about is a press hook. So that means why are you approaching them? Are you responding to a news story that has just broken? Has there been a new survey that you can comment on? Are they literally looking for people to comment on? Let's say the mental health crisis. Whatever is going on in the press, which is where your area of expertise is. Those are reasons for you to start pitching to the press, because again, they are looking for you. They're looking for experts like you every single day.
So with that in mind, I'm curious now, Amanda, you mentioned sort of what I would call time-based features. And so they are current affairs, things that are happening in the world today, and they might be quite topical today. Are there opportunities for perhaps some more timeless type features? So I wonder about coaches that have got many decades of experience, for example, and some of their experience runs very deep. Are there sort of other opportunities, press and media coverage, where they're looking to learn about fundamentals or other kinds of expertise that may not necessarily be in today's news?
Yeah, great question. So I've got some clients who are actually currently doing this. So I think they're kind of like 3 key areas which you can concentrate on. And that is doing an Ask the Expert slot. So let's say you could pitch to your dream publication, news show, podcast or whatever, and you could be wheeled in as that very expert, okay, to answer questions. So that's a really good way. So it's like a question and answer. So if you're going to be pitching and Ask the Expert, I really recommend that you go to, because I helped somebody just the other day do it and they're really impressed at the preparation they'd gone into, come up with 10 questions that you get asked all the time, 10 FAQs. And then you just have like a short paragraph as your answer. So when you're pitching it to the editor, you can say, listen, I've seen there's a gap in your magazine or your publication or your TV show, whatever. I think it'd be really beneficial if I could come on and I can help your listeners or your viewers by answering these frequently asked questions. Okay. So number one, you can pitch for an Ask the Expert or an agony aunt type column. Or another way, which is timeless, is to simply pitch to have a profile piece. People love people, and we all love human interest stories. So, for example, how she made it, what loops and hoops and adversity has she gone through in order to get to bringing in that £1 million or whatever it is, or whatever she's managed to achieve or he's achieved. And then the other one, which is timeless as well, which is also thought leadership. So you might be coming up with some great ideas. You might be, creating trends. You're a leader in your industry and you want to be sharing these pieces. So it doesn't have to be literally responding to breaking news. So I think those are the 3 areas which would be timeless.
That sounds great. You mentioned earlier searching on Twitter under a particular hashtag to be able to sort of see what journalists are looking for. Are there other ways to find out what the press and what the media is looking for in both the timeless and the sort of time-based expertise?
I think really using that hashtag is such a great way, because Twitter is just full of journalists and you can just watch the conversations going on between them. So that's one area. or you can approach them. So you can ask them for their forward features, let's say for a trade publication. So so trade press tend to give, like 12 months in advance if they're talking about the environment and what areas, they want to, or editors, you can approach them and say, but it's very rare that they'll give you all this information. So I really would be sticking to, well, number one, try and establish a relationship with, your dream outlets, key journalists. Become friendly with them if you possibly can, and then you can hint and say, oh, by the way, have you got any forward features? What are you going to be doing in the next 6 months? Because I'm sure I'll be able to contribute to your publication. So that's another way that you can find things. But, I think hashtag journo request is the one but that is very reactive. You're right.
Yeah. And I'd love to learn more about your expertise. And also the theme of this series is making time for your marketing. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, we've mentioned press releases a moment ago, but I'd love to, I heard about press releases years and years ago. Obviously, there's still a lot of print around these days, but digital marketing and digital publications are very commonplace these days. So I'm curious, is the press release dead?
I love that, because that's something which I write about. Is the press release dead? I say, no, it's not. Newswires, press wires, people are churning out press releases. But what you can do, an alternative, is a media alert. So let's say that you want to comment on some piece of breaking news. Instead of making a big fat formal press release, you can just say, Amanda FitzGerald, PR expert, available to comment on, the state of marketing in small businesses, or, because there's been FSB have done a big study about X, Y, and Z. But no, press releases aren't dead. And I hear people, DJs or presenters on the radio often speaking and referring back to a press release from ESSO or press release from X, Y, and Z person. So it's not dead, because really, when you do approach a journalist, I teach my clients to actually call the journalist when they can. Journalists will say, don't call us, but hey ho, I'm a PR, so I'm going to tell you what not to do. So call the journalist. They will always say, have you got the press release on it? Have you got more information? So if you've managed to lay out your information succinctly in a press release template format, then you're not going to miss a trick. You're going to have your lovely headline, your description, your 3 bullet points, a quotation, and your bio, and lots of other good stuff that you can find at my website.
In case our listener would like to follow along, where is your website? I will ask you again at the end. Okay,
so it's amandapr.com.
Okay, easy as that.
Well, I have pretty much told you, what you need to do for I was only being cheeky then, but really a press release, it's got to be, no more than 1 page, and put an image there. So many times journalists tell me, we feature people who've got a good image, a good photograph. And I don't mean a fancy photograph of a factory or, your product. Actually, most people listening to this are coaches. So it needs to be a professional head and shoulders photo. And that really helps you. That'll give you, an advance, head and shoulders above anybody else competing if you put a great shot in.
That's great. Nice little inside tip there. So that's amandapr.com if you would like to have a look at Amanda's website following along with this conversation today. So let's talk about the time side of things, and how much time do you believe we should be spending on, pitching to the press each day, for example?
Well, I used to say 30 minutes a day would be great.
Yeah.
But I gave a talk recently, and I said to the bunch of industry workers there, they were from the beauty industry, and they just said, I said, have you got 30 minutes? They said, a lot of them said yes. And but then somebody approached me after and said, I just don't even have 30 minutes. I don't have 10. I said, listen, have you got 7 minutes? She goes, okay, 7 minutes I can do. Now, hands up, who spends 7 minutes plus simply scrolling and wasting time down rabbit warrens on social media? So if you sacrifice one of those 7 minutes and put that into your searching on hashtag journo request inside Twitter and answering, you'll be like my clients and get so many pieces of press coverage, it's going out of fashion. I gave some interviews the other day, and because I was doing a boot camp, and they literally needed like a magazine rack with all the pieces of publications they've got, because they go in every day consistently. Let's say at 10:30, they go to hashtag journo request. But, I have trained them on how to be pithy with their press releases, with their media kit and their responses. But anybody can do it. The key thing today I want to teach you is Just be very short, sweet, and succinct with whatever you do with the press. Oh, and I want to give you another brilliant tip from a journalist, because I run with my VIP clients. It's called a pitch clinic. So every month I interview a leading journalist who then my clients then pitch to them to get experience. One journalist said, never assume knowledge. That means never write down industry jargon when you're pitching to the press, okay? So never assume knowledge. I think it's such a powerful thing. So just consider that whoever's reading, they don't know about your widgets or your whatever it is within your industry. So you've got to speak as though you're talking to a 5-year-old. Because so often I hear people giving their, elevator pitches, and I'm lost because I literally don't know what they do because I'm not in their industry. So if you're actually pitching to a journalist who's not in your industry, because journalists, they're not always going to be specializing in one area, you need to be able to have a broad brushstroke appeal. And also then you need to consider the people consuming that media. Let's just say it's the Metro newspaper. They're not going to necessarily know what you do or understand that area of expertise. So you just got to, just keep things simple. Stupid.
Yeah, keep things simple. I love
and
that.
Short. Because journalists, another thing, God, I spoke to another journalist on a pitch clinic and she goes, Amanda, I literally get an email a minute. Can you believe it? An email a minute? So can you imagine? And then journalists either do a mass deletion of 30,000 emails and they're missing pots of gold of some amazing coaches who've pitched to them. But the thing is, if you keep it short and sweet with a lovely eye-catching headline, then you might be open. Your email might be opened.
So is that the trick then? It's about the headline.
So the headline is the one thing that's going to get your email opened. It's the one thing that's going to capture the attention of the very, very busy journalist who's got their inbox exploding. So a headline, here's some tips. It's got to be no more than 9 words long, ideally 5 to 9 words long. Try and do that. Another tip is to try and summarize your whole pitch within actually that one headline. So if you're feeling a bit stuck thinking, oh my God, how the hell do I do that? The next time that you go to the supermarket and you're doing your shopping, your weekly shop, go to the magazine aisle, pick up 1 or 2 magazines and get inspired by the front covers. So I've got a copy of Platinum magazine and I'm going to read out some. So get your buzz back. Tackling anxiety. Love the skin you're in. Playing the dating game. So one of those might have tickled your interest. You think, oh, playing the dating game. I'd love to go there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's literally 4 words long. Memory, mental health, and strength. Or you could do things like this: 5 ways how to reconnect with your inner child, or whatever. Or, 5 ways how to wow the room when you hate networking. So you've got to, try and summarize your whole pitch within that one headline. It takes a bit of practice, but it's definitely doable. And it's really important to do that because you're going to be able to capture the attention. And if you can put your keyword in it as well, of what you're talking about, even better.
So with that in mind, what else can we be doing with our press and our PR? So you mentioned the headline there, so that we're standing out from the rest of the crowd.
This is a really good question. So people do not do this. They do not research the outlet, the media outlet. I mean, podcast, magazine, newspaper, you name it, TV show, radio show. They don't research it. So they don't actually know the format. They don't know which section that they would fit in, or they actually pitch to the wrong person, the wrong journalist or editor. So the biggest thing you can do is to tune in and to consume. Let's say you want to get into Psychologist magazine, start buying it for 2 to 3 months and really get to know it forensically, to quote one journalist from one of my VIP pitch clinics. Get to know the outlet forensically. Then you're going to stand a massive chance of getting in there because you're going to know the language, you're going to know the way they do their headlines, the way they do their articles. And so you just kind of mirror it when you're doing the pitch. So that's one thing you can do. Mm-hmm. And then another thing is to be targeted. So what I mean by that is, don't waste your time pitching to Red magazine when actually all of your clients read the Financial Times. Red magazine might be a great vanity project for you. Oh yes, I'm in Red. But actually, if you're doing it in order to build new client base, get into the publication that your clients consume. And you're thinking, how do I find that out?
Yes.
You literally ask them. You say, what do you consume, media-wise, for leisure and for work? And then they'll give you the answers. And so if they read Red, perfect. And if they also read Financial Times, win-win. You need to just focus then on those 2 outlets and not focusing on thousands, keep it short.
Yeah, so a nice little short list there of outlets that your clients or your ideal clients are already reading and getting into those. So let's take that the next step forward, Amanda. So we've got an idea, we've got a short list now of the media outlets that we might like to be featured in so that we can get in front of those ideal clients of ours. How do we then form and then develop the relationships with the right people in those media outlets so that we can pitch to them, essentially?
So what you need to start to do is to build a relationship, because it's all about relationship building. So again, many journalists say to me, I really only open emails up from people whose names I recognize. So how can you become a recognizable name to a very famous journalist? Well, it's easy these days with social media. You like, you retweet, you comment. So when they say, check out my Sunday Times piece on property, blah, 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 you go, I love this art, share it with your followers. I love this article because X, Y, and Z. And it's not in a stalky way, but it kind of is. It's in a nice way because you're being helpful to them. It's the art of reciprocity. You can then go and follow them on LinkedIn. I mean, I don't think, LinkedIn's not a great place for journalists, in my opinion. You can find them on Instagram. So just literally, follow where they are and be polite and friendly and helpful. Above all, be helpful. So if they're doing a call out and they want, I need an expert in X, Y, and Z, it's not your area of expertise, but somebody, to say, hey, I've just seen your call out. I know so-and-so who's a brilliant expert in, mental health, let's say, and tag that person. You see, and then they'll go, oh. So then finally, after a few months or a few weeks that you kind of been doing this relationship building, you'll have a really good chance. And again, clients are doing this and it's working. I mean, I've got one client who's now best friends almost with Platinum Editor. Can you imagine? Because she's been doing such a good job behind the scenes, gently, quietly, and nicely and kindly. And it gets her noticed.
That's brilliant, Amanda. Yeah, really insightful. So, okay, so we've developed the relationship now. And so I'm guessing you've given some great clues and tips there about coming up with and I'm sure this still applies, having the great headline in the subject, because even though you might have the relationship with them or be cultivating that, they're still going to be getting lots of emails. So we want to keep it short. We want to keep it to the point. In the body of that email, what do we need to be putting? Because I know some people, and I've learned from my own experience in the past before, we don't want to be sending the article, do we?
Well, exactly. Yes. You want to kind of pique their interest. So it's dear so-and-so, and it's literally going to be above the fold. So I don't know, 10 centimeters, like in terms of how long the email's meant to be. Dear so-and-so, loved your article on X, Y, and Z, because it proves that you don't have to say I loved your article. I enjoyed your article. I found your article really interesting on or insightful on blah, 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 on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, because blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of say something like, I'm an expert in cryptocurrency, the latest platform, Swissborg, whatever. And I've been running this for You kind of give a really one sentence about your expertise. Do you think your readers would be interested in a feature or in learning more about how to make a great investment in crypto? So that's another like paragraph. It's only like 1 or 2 sentences. And you go, please see below some ideas for a potential article. And then you literally just do bullet points. Then you're not writing it. Because again, I have people who literally have written the whole article. They spent blood, sweat and tears doing it. And it literally gets, disappears into the ether. And then you go, under your little bullet points, do you think this might be of interest? And then you have your short biography. And then I look forward to hearing from you soon with your email signature, with your website, if you've been featured anywhere, as seen in, and all that to kind of back up who you are. But if you've never had press coverage before, don't worry. Now is the time to start. Yeah,
got it. So, and I'm guessing really anybody can do this. Is that right, Amanda?
Absolutely anybody. And the press needs to hear from you. They really do, because everybody has got an interesting story. And another point is getting into the press doesn't always have to be about your area of expertise, let's say cryptocurrency. So I'm a wild water swimmer. So I was in the Independent recently because I contributed towards an article. I saw a journalist call out, hashtag journo request looking for wild water swimmer experts or swimmers. So I answered it and I answered the questions because I've been learning how to do this for, a few years now since lockdown. So I was featured in the press because of that. But it's great because they actually said Amanda FitzGerald, PR coach, plus my website. I mean, hello. And that's gone into the Press Association, Independent, and lots of other local press areas. So that's just really going to be a fantastic booster for my SEO, search engine optimization, which takes us back to the marketing question, which you asked at the very beginning. What is marketing? So yeah, it's brilliant. It kind of it all ties in together.
Yeah, I can see how you can start building almost like an ecosystem here of various different articles and pieces of press coverage, which are just going to start relating to each other or sort of building your own portfolio.
PR snowball, exactly.
Yeah, the PR snowball, as you called it there. Yeah, absolutely. So just a little aside here, I'm curious, once you've had these articles published, are there any good practices in terms of referring to those articles on your website, for example?
Yes. So the best practice is only to share the link. So don't share a photograph of the article at all. Literally share the link. And it's great because, on my website, actually, I've got a really good example of this. So if you go to amandapr.com, and I think there's a category called press. So just go there. Yeah. Or what is it? Press studio or something. Anyway, go to the press area and you'll see it. And then it's got loads of examples of my clients who do it really well. You'll see Julie Leonard, the happiness evangelist. And so she literally shares a link. There's a picture of her as seen in so-and-so with the logo. And then there's the link. And then it takes you straight to that piece. So that's the best way to do it on your website. When you've got the press coverage, share it on Instagram, but you can't, well, actually, yes, on Instagram, you can do like a link tree, can't you? Link.tree. Read my latest article here. And then it takes you straight through to that piece of coverage, and do that on Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. Just share the link out.
That's great. Yeah, some fabulous thoughts and insights there and tips, of course. So coming back to the time that we spend on our PR and marketing each day, where's the best place for anyone to start? Would you recommend a certain place, or is it different for everybody depending on who they're trying to reach and what their interests are? I loved your example there, by the way, about the wild water swimming and how that's been an avenue or an opportunity to actually promote the work that you do as well. But I'm curious, do we start with press releases? Do we start with magazine features or digital features?
Do you know, I would say start local. That's how I started. So cut your teeth locally. So try and get into the local press, try and become a local superstar, because it's great. You might be, living in a small village, but yet people might need you. You never know who lives in that village. So if you get into the local press, the local town or the region, or, they often have lovely glitzy glossy magazines. Try and get into that. So that's one place to start. And then the other place, really, like I said before, is to go to Twitter to practice, because you're not going to get in the first time. If you do, congratulations. It's really great. Actually, I did. When I first started pitching to the press, I was running a business selling knitwear. And I literally sent off, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 emails with pictures of my berets. And then the next minute I was getting orders, and I thought, where the hell have these orders come from? So I said to the people, the clients, the customers, I said, out of interest, because it's another thing about marketing, always ask your new clients how they've heard about you. I said, how did you hear about me? They said, well, you're in the Independent, aren't you? So that was like a stroke of luck, but it does tend to be a good few weeks before you will strike gold. But persistence is so important. Don't give up if you don't hear anything back. You just got to keep on going. And in the words of one woman on The Apprentice, no stands for new opportunity. So any closed door, you just got to keep on trying. Because you will knock them down, I promise you. So it's that age-old tip of persistence and consistency, I suppose, in terms of actually showing up, pitching ourselves or pitching our ideas to those that are actually looking
looking for our not just our expertise, but also our interests.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And don't think that you just need to be talking about your business all the time, because you can raise your profile in many different ways.
Yeah, that's a really helpful tip. I love that one, Amanda. So I realise now we're well into this series, and a number of listeners have reached out, and it's been interesting seeing some of the comments and conversation. One of the things that I've learnt is that some of the folks listening to this particular series are not just coaches, but they are authors as well. So I'm curious, if for those listeners, have you got any tips in terms of, chances are they've got one or more books if they've not contributed to a book. I was just wondering if you had any tips for authors specifically in terms of maybe promoting their books and their work.
Yeah. So an author, that is really important because, getting into the press with your book is really great. Depends when you're actually launching it, or if you're about to launch it, then, you can make a big song and dance about it. But yeah, so the key tips are, let's just say you're launching your book, is to create like a promotional calendar. So you're not going to be exhausting yourself. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to be running my, book launch for the next 3 months. These are the places I'd love to get featured in. Prior to that, having done your research, hopefully you might have befriended some of the book reviewers or the people who cover, new books. So you can do that. You can also take it, to local bookstore and do a book reading or a book signing, even if they don't stock it, because it's a nice buzz, or take it to a cafe or restaurant or something like that to do a bit of a book launch, and then write a press release about it. So the press release is going to have your headline, big picture of the book, and then on the right-hand side, a bit of copy about it. You also have some quotes from people who've actually read it, how life-changing your book was. And then approach your local press, because the local press are always looking for local, amazing people like you.
Yeah. Again, that's that local tip. And I think that wouldn't necessarily, certainly for me, be an intuitive one. Perhaps it's just the way my mind works, but to think big and think national straight away when it comes to press. But actually, there's a lot to be said for local press.
Yeah, particularly because you can practice it as well.
Right.
You can cock up and then, let's say you want to, you want to get into the Telegraph. You don't go straight to the editor.
Yeah.
You kind of practice with the local Worcester Gazette, and then you work your way up towards it.
Yeah. Just coming back to some of the sticking points for the folks that you work with, you mentioned confidence earlier on. And I was just wondering, for those that really struggle with this stuff, Amanda, maybe on the confidence side of it, what's your best advice to them in terms of building that confidence? I think you hinted at it there, but I was just wondering if you've got any other insights or tips.
I mean, first off, for me, when I have new clients, it's kind of like it is a bit of a mindset piece. So it is, just think why you want to get into the press. Why is it? So I'm doing it because I love helping people. I love helping people have an impact, because so many of my clients have offer life-changing services. Special educational needs people, domestic abuse survivor experts, mental health, you name it, they will have a big impact. I've got somebody who's literally launching a book next week, and she is autistic. So she's written a book about being lost for 45 years, and she's only just found out that she's autistic. So she's helping people. So she'll be having a massive impact. So think about why you want to get into the press. What is your big why? So I remember when I was first pitching my knitwear to journalists, I got a bit of a rebuff, a really nasty rejection from somebody. And she just said, "Oh, I don't like, the style of the models. It doesn't look good, whatever." So she slagged it off. And I thought, actually, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to contribute to the family income, to contribute to my children's nursery fees. I'm doing it for this, and this reason. So why are you running your business? Why? So just put that on a Post-it note, and then just have another Post-it note saying, JFDI. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes it is about exactly that, isn't it, Amanda? It's about having what I heard there was a powerful enough why, and reminding ourselves of that on a daily basis, why we're doing this, what we're in it for. And a theme that's sort of certainly come up for me in this series, and one I'm definitely hearing in what you're suggesting, is that by not actually putting ourselves out there and spreading what we know or sharing our stories and expertise, we're actually doing a disservice to people by not allowing those people who might really want to connect with us and are out there in the world looking for people like us, being able to actually connect with us.
Yes. I mean, people do say selling is serving, because you're going to be serving those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're sharing your message and you're breakthroughs, areas of expertise. Yes, I have taken so many, I've employed so many experts during my career. It's unreal. We all need experts. And how do you hear about them? Often I hear about them being interviewed on the radio. They've written a book. So that's really listening to the press is how I managed to find out about a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great, actually, Amanda. I love that. In terms of actually, there's a reminder there, I think, also to remind ourselves of what we probably take for granted, but what do we listen to? What do we read? And think about the media outlets that we ourselves enjoy, and maybe thinking about being featured there if that's likely to line us up with the sort of people that we're looking to connect with.
Yes. Exactly.
You mentioned their expertise and being an expert, of course, which you are in this world of PR and publicity. I'm curious, tell us a little bit more about the journey as we evolve in this world. So I imagine you work with a number of people that have been doing their own sort of PR and publicity for quite a long time. They've probably been following your guidance and expertise. How does this evolve? I mean, does what they do on a daily basis change, or what's happening at a more advanced level? Where can you take this?
Well, getting into the press is really great for, as I said, the PR snowball and building your reputation. So if you then want to reach out to potential partnerships, joint ventures, literally then, the people you're pitching to, seeing the fact that you've been on the BBC, Forbes, ITV or wherever, that really helps. And it really just does help you cement your name as a thought leader. So I think most people listening to this will probably aspire to be a thought leader. So that is where, you need to be taking it. And thought leaders, you might think that you're very busy people, you don't have time to be pitching to the press. But I have many thought leaders come to me saying, Amanda, I'd like to know how to get into the press. And the benefit of using somebody like me, as opposed to employing a PR agency, is that you'll know exactly how to articulate your message in a succinct way that works and how to pitch yourself. Because you see, I've employed various PR agencies when I ran my first business because I got too busy. I got so much press coverage. I thought, I'm going to hand it over to some PR agencies. Nobody could get the coverage which I could get. And journalists actually love hearing from the business owner themselves, as opposed to hearing from a PR, because very often, I hear complaints from the journalists, PRs just take so long to get back because they're working on their other clients. So if you are pitching to the press, and literally doing it within your 7 minutes a day, or let's say 15 mega max, you will get the coverage, and you will carry on to raise your profile and to be head and shoulders above your competition.
That's great to hear. That's another little myth there that's been bust for me. Coming into this interview, my mindset was very much like, once we get going with this, we need someone else to do it for us. But some great tips there in terms of actually the benefits of doing this for ourselves, and we can do it ourselves. I think that's the thing I'm learning today.
Yes, I call it an essential business DIY skill. An essential business skill, rather.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, correction. I call this an essential life business skill.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Well, I really appreciate the time you've spent with me today, Amanda. I've just got a couple of closing questions, if I may.
Yes.
The first one is, what are some of the success stories that you've seen or been a part of? I mean, feel free to name names if you're able to, but you don't have to name names. But I'm curious, where can this end up? Where can this go?
Well, I had a tailor, a Savile Row's first female tailor. She managed to get herself a Ask the Expert column in a city magazine, which was fantastic. I've got a client who managed to bring in, as a result of one piece of press coverage, £210,000 worth of business. Okay, because he was a person who was exposing unscrupulous practices within contracts, for photocopy machines. And he says, working with Amanda, generated almost $210,000 for my business, but more importantly, enabled several schools, charities and small businesses to collectively save or reclaim around 1.7 million off the back of one article in the National Red Top. So that's Chaz Jordan, who runs Fair Associates. And he was whistleblowing. And that's another way that you can get into the press. So for me, that is, financially, that is the biggest win. I've got another client who sells brilliant product. It's a phone accessory. You put it around your neck, and so it's encased in a little rubber protective case type thing. She got onto the Customer is Always Right BBC show, and she took in £10,000 worth of sales. They then repeated it over Christmas, and a further £5,000 came her way. So, but it's not always about the money.
Yeah.
Very often, when I had my first ever piece of press coverage for my fledgling company, for me, it's invaluable. It was the confidence it gave me. Wow, somebody else likes what I'm doing. It's honestly, you can't put a price on that.
That's a really interesting thing and a lovely thing to hear there, Amanda, but by actually taking the leap, by making the commitment to do this, this is actually a way that we can indeed develop that confidence, which we may feel that we're lacking actually going into it. So we can actually develop our confidence by starting small and spending a few minutes each day taking action on some of the tips that you've kindly shared with us today. So I really appreciate that. So in the context of everything that I think we've covered a lot of ground today in a short amount of time.
Yes, we have. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there's anything else you'd like to add for our listener.
So don't get overwhelmed. So I don't want you to think, oh my God, I want to get into the press. Don't think you're running your own PR agency. You're literally running your business. I know you're going to be juggling a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Make sure one of those balls is your 7 minute a day PR method. That's what I would say. So you can do it. Just be sure to be succinct with your pitches, have an eye-catching jazz hands headline. And, really, I do say just go for it. And also always have an angle when you're pitching.
Okay.
So don't just blindly pitch going, I want to talk about this company because it's so great. Why is it relevant?
Yeah.
How can you weave it into the news of the day?
Yeah.
Even if, we did talk about earlier timeless pieces, but actually, if you want to be pitching right now, just think how you can tie in with what is happening right now. And I don't mean, yes, you have to listen to the news to kind of hear what's going on, but also tune in to those outlets that you're trying to get into and see what people are commenting on. And look at Twitter. There's always trends going on there. Love Island has just finished, so whatever, you might be a psychologist and you might have thought, oh my goodness, what's happening there is so wrong. So there's lots of things, topical things that you can be talking about all the time. The election, with Rishi and with Liz Truss, can we talk about that? Can you comment on it in a positive or a jovial, what kind of manner can you do it? What do you think about female leaders? There's going to be so many different angles that you can come up with.
That's great, Amanda. Lovely to hear as well. Some great stuff in there. Fabulous. So just for our listener, once again, where can they reach out to you and learn more about what it is that you do?
Okay, well, thank you for asking. So first off, you've got my website, which is literally amandapr.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Amanda FitzGerald, or Instagram or Twitter on @AmandaPRExpert. And actually, I've got a free Facebook group, which is simply PR Secrets. So go there. I think you need to go to my page, which is Amanda FitzGerald, and then look up PR Secrets, and you can join there. We give lots of hints and tips and invite you to come along to some free trainings.
Fantastic. So lots of signposts there for you to follow to take your PR and publicity to the next level, or even indeed to get started if you've not got started with this. So Amanda, thank you so much for your time and expertise today. Thank
you very much. I've really enjoyed your questions. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks for listening to another podcast by the Association for Coaching. I'm Rob Lawrence. For 20 years, the AC's purpose has been to inspire and champion coaching excellence, advance the coaching profession, and make a sustainable difference to individuals, organisations, and societies worldwide. To find out more about the Association for Coaching and our member benefits, follow us on LinkedIn or explore our website at associationforcoaching.com. You can keep up to date with our latest podcast episodes, enjoy the wealth of digital learning offerings, and gain insights from our Coaching Perspectives magazine.